Patrick.
Happy New Year, everybody. Before you put me on the clock, I just want to say the stories tonight are wonderful. Diane, I had no idea what you've battled through. That's what Story Slam's all about. I thank you, and I thank Jim for giving you and the other people a stage to do that. It was really inspirational. I had no idea. So now I'm going to tell a really trivial story. It's about battling for the soul of my son at the Renaissance Fair. My ideal Saturday afternoon is sitting on the couch with my 3 kids and watching TV. This drives my wife crazy. She tries to educate us, so she periodically will do road trips, and the one trip was to the Renaissance Fair. So we get in the car, and my wife's like, "We're going to be living history," and she's all excited. My teenage daughter, Samantha, who's the oldest, just turns up her iPod. My youngest son, Jack, who's bloodthirsty, just decapitating his action figures. She's not paying attention. But I look in the rearview mirror, and my middle child, Brian, is hyperventilating. He's just so excited, because he's a history nut. My wife, well-intentioned, sent him at age 8 to a history camp for the summer. They go to camp, they dress up as historical figures, and they reenact history events. She joins a long list of well-meaning mothers who unintentionally set up their sons to be beat up to a pulp in elementary school. Hey, Genghis nerd, give me your lunch money. It doesn't fly. Anyway, we're driving there. We get there. We had to park way far away. We're walking through the mud. And I try to be like, Mr. Historian. I go, it was muddy in the Middle Ages. And my daughter goes, "You'd know." My son Jack goes, "Dad, she says that because you're old." You get it? Yeah, I got it. We walk in, and there are all these people lined up in historical Renaissance garb with those little scooter things, where you can't even tell they have legs. They're scooting around like at Disney World. And I turn to my wife and I go, "You'd think the employees would be a little bit more concerned about historical accuracy." And she goes, "Those aren't the employees, those are customers." And I go, "People dress up for this?" "Oh, they dress up for it." They dress up for it. We're walking around. There's, my kids don't want to deal with the artisans, the crafts. They go right to the duel pit. The duel pit is the people put on these armor on the top, and they put balloons on each of your shoulders and a balloon on your top, and then you break the balloons with a sword. This traces back to, of course, to Ivanhoe. Well, so we're waiting in line for the duel pit, and there's a guy first in line who has brought his own sword. He's got a Seinfeld puffy shirt on and tight yoga pants. And they say, are you ready to go? And he's like, "I'm waiting for a worthy foe." And so he passes it up. So my kids are up. So it's supposed to be Brian and Jack, and they say to Jack, "You're too little." Now this drives him nuts. And Sammy goes, "I'll beat up my brother." So they go in there whacking away at each other. Puffy shirt, my wife picks up a sword, is just looking at it, looking at me. She's got the sword, she's looking at it, and Puffy shirt saunters over to her and says, "Ah, at last a worthy foe." And my wife just glares at him, and I'm behind her going to the guy. So he backs up like, "Adieu, saucy wench." So I go, and the whole thing, the language is driving me nuts. Everybody's going, good morrow," and I go to the guy, one of the employees, and I go, "Where's the bathroom?" "The privy they speak of?" "Yes, the bathroom." "Too many meads, perhaps?" "Yes, the bathroom." "Make haste, you want?" "Where is the bathroom?" He goes, it's yon hither behind ye old nachos of Nottingham." Fine. As the day goes on, now at the end of the day, we go to they have a joust, and we're all waiting. We're at the fairgrounds, and it's getting dark. And the crowd's restless. They want blood. And to keep the crowd going, they're shooting goblets into the crowd. Now, the goblets are actually T-shirts. I found this out because Brian caught one, and Jack, bitter because of the duel pit, immediately jumped on him. They start fighting. The crowd forms around that because they've been waiting for some action. At this point, I decided it's a good time to just take a walk. So My wife calls me the divorced dad. I just leave. I'm walking around the campgrounds, and this is when, you know, our society is built up of subcultures. My wife's a scrapbooking nut. My brother's a surf bum. I actually have a friend who's really into curling. and of course, story slam. And I don't begrudge any cultures, but it seemed like all the subcultures that congregated here that night. And rather than the Renaissance Fair shrinking, it was growing in number. And there were punks, bikers, goths, hippies. I even think I saw a Trekkie or two, it might have been his 8 years, all gathered together, all in Renaissance garb. And it was freaking me out. I thought they were all going to gather around me going, one of us, one of us. So I go back to find my family, and they're there, and I walk up, and Sammy and Jack aren't interested, but Brian turns to me, and I wrote it down. He said, "What say you, good sir?" At that point, I decided we had to leave. I said to my wife, "Get the kids out of here." And Sammy and Jack ran away, and I turned to Brian, and because I'm, at this point, battling for his soul. I don't want to lose him. I said, "Brian, I know you love history, but really, look around. Do you want to be dressed like this when you're my age?" And he looks at me and he looks around the crowd and he looks back at me and I go, "Brian, it's called medieval for a reason." And he said, "Dad, let's go." And I won. And we ran back to our time machine and the safety of our couch. Thank you.